morning, everyone. Welcome to the Metal Markets. I'm your host, Marcus Stalker D. It's Thursday. It's post-FOMC day. There's a lot of volatility, so let's get into it. But before we begin, please make sure to familiarize yourself with that risk disclaimer that Bruno posted in the chat so that we're all on the same page. If you're new here, I've been trading for almost 20 years at this point. I started in Forex, traded that for 5 years pretty well, and then thought to myself, hey, I don't want to be a session musician anymore. Let me become a real trader. So I went into prop, but I already did pretty well in my own with my own capital, and prop firms back then were not really online. They were just a brick and mortar firm. So, and then in 2015, I came across Topstep. I was looking for a Chicago-based prop firm because I really liked the way they were doing things. I passed their combine, became the first female funded trader at Topstep. And now here we are some 11 years later. And, I'm still with Topstep in some shape or form. Stocks Fox says, I remember you from your Udemy course days, way different hair. Yeah, so what's happened since then? I used to have, first of all, I was a session musician, right? So I used to love crazy hair colors. I was also quite a bit younger. I was still in my 30s and still thinking that, I'm kind of a rock musician at heart. But as COVID hit, I couldn't really do the hair that way anymore, and then I let it wash out. Eventually I noticed that I started going very gray, so now I'm salt and pepper, and I can't be bothered to dye my hair anymore. So at some point in the next couple of years, I'm letting the gray hair take over because I don't care, and I think it's going to be quite an interesting sort of look. I have a big sort of white bit here, which I don't know whether you can see on camera. Yeah, you can see it. And right now it's in a weird phase because I'm kind of trying to grow it out, so it looks weird. All right, let's see what the metals are doing, and we're also going to have a look at crude oil too. I did do overnight trading. The session went pretty well. This morning I also added on to whatever I did during Asia with the help of some crude oil and RBOB. RBOB were momentum trades. I do not recommend. Definitely do not recommend. But I know RBOB pretty well, and it was moving like crazy, so I was able to snipe a couple of trades that went to like 140 ticks in the matter of seconds. So even though it was a lot of ticks, I would still classify that as a scalp because I didn't stay in it long. When I look at gold, because that is something that I use as a benchmark, we had this gamma flip area at 4,700. Now we are only 7 days till the expiry of the contract. What that tends to do for the options chain is to bring a lot of sort of pinning behaviors around relevant levels. 4,700 is definitely one of them. If we cannot stay at 4,700, the big major level that I'm seeing is 4,500. There are a couple on the way. There's 4,600 and 4,650, but 4,650 is a weaker put wall. And then 4,600 is kind of moderate, but 4,500, if we ever get there, that's a big boy, right? It's got quite a number of contracts, and I will classify that as a mega put wall. But at the moment, we currently have 4,700. And with that in mind, I'm looking for gold to show some strength around here. And with that, I would like to see copper following. Out of all the metals that we have on Topstep, which is gold, silver, and copper, copper is the strongest, gold is arguably the weakest. So this is why I'm in my copper longs here. However, copper doesn't really have too many strong levels here. The next really strong level is a put wall at 530. So if we kind of break down through this 45 level, that would be obviously an invalidation of my current trading idea. At this time of day, probabilities of continuation versus mean reversion, they don't have good probabilities. They're like 50-50 at best. It's a coin flip. But the reason why I go for mean reversion trades in this time of day is because of the amount of movement that you get for the mean reversion. When it does happen, it runs for much more than the continuation. So continuation tends to be a little bit limited. That changes once COMEX opens and all hell breaks loose. And because we're post FOMC, we could have, a continuation of that move for sure. But at the same time, you could find yourself in a bit of a hangover day. If I'm looking at crude oil is just tagging this 95 put wall. There was also an area of interest yesterday. If I look at the London value area, now I use TPOs, but we can just see what is happening with the fixed volume, because it's kind of similar. Oh, not that similar. Okay, so I'm going to use my TPO value because I know the data for that. TPO value area 95.50 for the value high, and then 93.76 for the value low. So that's your reference point. For those who know about the value acceptance, because this is a neutral day type and because this put wall is pretty decent strength, I'm not really in favor of going with the value acceptance. But what we could do, we could maybe run a trade up to VWAP or something, just like the middle of the range through this big candle. I'm just looking to see what the order flow is doing. Yeah, so let's try like a tiny little 2 micros here, because obviously now the whole point of me continuing to trade is to make sure that we keep the the money that we have, rather than going, I have to get to 4,000, because that leads to very difficult situations. So once I'm in quite a bit of profit, I tend to drop down to a lower size and then just keep going, keep adding to it. Right, I've just dropped down to 100 tick chart, not something I use very frequently, but it's kind of as close as you can get to the order flow. Now obviously order flow gives you extra information. You have the size of the orders, you have the cumulative volume delta, you can see absorption, you can see a whole bunch of stuff. So for example, this would be more absorption because the bubbles are nearly equal size, bid and ask, and that can bring a pretty nice bounce away from it. So we'll see whether we can squeeze out a few ticks from the very volatile crude oil here. Again, not looking for too much, but I'm giving it a wide berth, like I'm giving it a very wide stop of 164 ticks. No scaling in because it's very volatile. And yeah. Dave says, worst day ever. Somehow managed to roll my contracts from FTXS to FDAX and melted my account for yikes. Yeah. Big DAX is really expensive, and right now, looking at how DAX is moving, we are in larger volatility environment, and 160 ticks will keep you in the trade just about long enough for the trade to do what it needs to do. But always be careful around FOMC days. Typically they're the higher volatility days, and they're pretty expensive even on minis and micros, right? Never mind full DAX. So yeah, I'm not surprised. So I would like, I don't know whether you're using Ninja or what, but there is a risk management tool called the Deeyana Angelo Trader. Now I've shown that on Topstep TV about a couple of years ago. It's an excellent risk tool where you can do a whole bunch of stuff. You can lock yourself out, you can You can set the times of the day to trade. You can only specify certain products. So it's very similar to Topstep risk tools, but it is an add-on. And for me, I don't really trade without it. I wouldn't be comfortable trading without it because there are times of the day when I want to keep trading and then I forget that it's lunchtime and then I try and click a button, but that system says, it's New York lunchtime. You can't trade right now because I locked myself out for that hour since I don't tend to do that well during lunchtime. So yeah. With Bookmap and alpha subs, it's almost forced. I don't know what alpha subs means. Sorry. Yeah. Bookmap is just $86 a month. The way I do it, I connect it to like a random eval account through TradeAway connection because I feel that their data feed is so annoying to me. I can never find anything in their data feeds, and they have everything. They have every single every single contract, every single calendar month, and it's difficult. Oh, alpha, spot, gamma, right? So that's probably just equities, and I don't. The companies that only do equities options, they do nothing for me because I'm a core commodities trader. Like 90% of my trading will be on copper, silver, crude oil, RBOB, and if the company doesn't offer anything else apart from SPX and NQ and stuff, I'm just not really interested. So yeah. But yeah, $460 per month. That's quite an expense if you're not banking. So yeah, I mean with my data fees and everything, my expenses are pretty high, and then we also have some API connections. That's pretty like the APIs for options and stuff. That's like you're looking at $2,000 a month. So yeah. Who do I recommend for futures for gamma levels? I personally quite like Mentor Q. They even have like an AI bot where you can query it and it gives you all the levels and stuff, and they cover everything. They cover commodities, they cover forex, they cover things like cattle, and they cover a lot of different markets, and that's what you need, right? Even for things that are not really that big in options, like YM doesn't really have there are options, it's just nobody trades them. So because of that, they have blind spots, and they basically take correlations between a whole bunch of different correlated products, and then they come up with these blind spot areas. Now, I personally just convert ES levels if I'm going to trade YM. How much do they do per month? Oh God, don't quote me on that. I think it's they do sometimes have promos and stuff, but let me just have a look. They're not $460 a month. I can tell you that. They're pretty, when it comes to the options levels, they're reasonably affordable. So, let's have a look. Pricing. Alright, so they normally charge $129, but you can get it for $39 a month to try it out because they have a coupon code that you can use. It's on their pricing page, and that's the premium membership, which allows you to have access to indicators and stuff. So they have simplified it, and sure, you can look at their website with all the dark pools and like a vertical histogram. However, I prefer just having a simple line on the chart. And I do my own anchor points because I don't want every single options level. I actually only want to look at the ones that also have some sort of combination of open interest and implied volatility that makes them a little bit more interesting for reversal points. So yeah. Where does Topstep source the gamma info? These are not, I'm afraid this is not Topstep. This is me taking the line and going, okay, where do we have the gamma walls? And then I will take a horizontal line. This is what I do every morning. And then I will say, whatever this was, weaker foot wall. So yeah, it's not an indicator. It's me putting a line on the chart. So yeah. Bookmap is trash, Tick Sniper says. Okay, yeah, if you don't like it. Bookmap is one of those things, people either hate it or they love it. There's like no middle ground. It's like, it's okay. Like, they either hate it or love it. I'm not good with time and sales because it's too much. Like, this is and it's the same information, right? But this is what time and sales looks like. So let's take something that moves quite a bit. To me, it's all just numbers, and my brain can't process anything useful out of this. And there are people that are very good with time and sales, but I stared at it for the first few years of my prop career, and I just couldn't. I didn't gel with it because it's pure numbers. I'm a very visual person, musicians and stuff who are very pattern based, and this just didn't do it for me. So I'm like. And then, like, I knew what to look for. It's just the amount of effort that I needed to expend figuring out what's going on. It was too much for me. So yeah. And then when Bookmap came around, I spent about a couple of years just kind of getting used to it. So it wasn't like an immediate thing. It's like, wow, Bookmap, wow. I spent a good amount of time staring at it and going, and eventually I learned to recognize the same patterns that I knew existed on time and sales, and I like the fact that they smush volume. They have some indicators to show you sweeps and stuff, even though you can see them even in real time. Like, just look at a random candlestick chart when they kind of smash through a level with a very quick velocity and then kind of pull it back. That's a sweep, right? Usually. So yeah. Dance futures, all these pro traders, teachers, they all trade combines. Now, why would that be? Because we all have our own accounts. And, to me, getting a $4,500 drawdown on Topstep, yeah, it's nice. Like, if I need some trinkets and stuff, I will make sure to trade the funded prop accounts. But at this point, $4,500 and even $20,000 in funding wouldn't really change my life, mate. Right? So it's nice to have. So, when I'm, like I said, if I'm planning something, for example, last year we moved into a new house, I needed some cash, and, we spent a lot on trinkets, but I wanted more trinkets, and also my computer took a hit in the move. So I suddenly needed $20,000 on extra stuff, and I used my payouts from Topstep to get that. So I got a couple of new lights, I got the FX3 camera, and I've got the new computer. So everything that I'm running right now is paid from a Topstep prop. But I don't, it's not like, hey, my bills have to be paid from a Topstep combine, from a Topstep XFA or a live account. But I've been live twice with Topstep. I've been with them even on Topstep TV, coming up to almost 3 years now. But yeah, so, Dan, everybody has different things in life. We're here to illustrate concepts. We're not here to give you a signal service. Again, read the risk disclaimer. We're not here to make you copy us blindly. In fact, that's exactly the thing that we say not to do. So the levels that are provided here, they're levels that you can trade anywhere. Whether it's your personal account, whether it's another prop firm, whatever. They're just options levels that I find interesting for whatever reason. And then if I see something that's interesting to me, I will maybe take a trade. And sometimes it's an XFA, sometimes it's live, sometimes it's a combine. And it doesn't matter, it's still the same trade, right? Especially on these sizes. But another thing, I like to trade options. So, we don't have options on Topstep. and options have been a decent chunk of my income, but I don't really consider trading the only source of income. I'm not one of those. I'm not like, no, it's all trading. It used to be, I've been doing this for 20 years. At one point, trading was all the income that we as a household had. Okay? But then I had some health challenges in my life, and I realized that having just one source of income, probably not the best thing. I had a car accident that affected my ability to stare at the screens, and then I got healthy again, and everything was fine for a few years, and then I got a vaccine injury, which I'm still struggling with. So I used to be able to run like loads of funded accounts all at the same time, and my brain just took it as nothing. Now it's like, oh god, I'm running my options swings, and then have to do this, and it's just too much for me. I'm 45, man. My brain doesn't work as well as it used to. So day trading is a lot. It's you have to be like completely on top of your game. Not to mention that it's March as well. March is that I'm in England, and we usually change our clocks at the end of March. So out of all the times of the year, March is probably my worst nightmare, where I want to remove all risk and maybe wait until we actually change clocks, because I rely on time of day a lot. So you have events like the Silver Fix, you have the events like the Euro close and COMEX close and stuff. But now, and even Tokyo stays at like the same time of day, whereas the rest of the world, like for example UK and large parts of the USA, they change clocks, but Tokyo doesn't. So then when we change clocks, suddenly Tokyo doesn't start at midnight. Suddenly Tokyo starts at 1 a.m., but Globex still starts in USA hours. So now you have an extra sort of 2 hours where the exchanges are not open for Asia. It just messes with my head. I absolutely hate March. And, it's there's many reasons to still keep practicing, because I never want to drop the ball on day trading, because it's kind of like sports. If you start practicing levels and how you enter trades, what you're looking for, emotional regulation during a trade, you drop the ball, man. Like, absolutely. Every time I come back from any sort of a vacation or holiday, as we like to call it in this country, that's always, very difficult for me. I have to go into like a practice account to get my chops back, my trading chops back, because I forget. I'm like, hold on, how did I used to do this? It is weird how quickly it goes, right? Yeah. Was that manipulation of MCL? I almost blew my account. What a bait. It's a neutral day. So can you call it manipulation? Yeah, but we had a failed auction. So let me plot some stuff here for you to illustrate this a bit better. Because we don't have TPOs yet on Topstep, even though everybody has been asking for it. But hey, they're not here yet. So here we go. So this is initial balance high for London, right? We're going to have another one when NYMEX starts. And then this was initial balance low, roughly, right? Don't have to be to the tick, even though it should be, but I can't be bothered. But you can see that we extended. Let me make this super big, because we're not old. We extended past the initial balance high, and the initial balance is just the first hour of trading. We all know that, right? Fake out, massive fake out, goes higher. Looked like VWAP is not really a thing, but then they get to this supply area, which incidentally we also have some puts at 99. They hedged right before that, like literally they missed it by a tick. Immediately went into complete reversal and got to the put wall of 95. That's been an area of interest now for quite a few days, whether it's from the downside or upside, again, matter of context, but it's been a pivot that I've been looking at, and they can't really break it, right? However, what happened is that they went into a neutral day, so now you have an extension upside, extension downside. What is that? It's like an elastic band being pulled both ends from both sides, right? So nobody's winning. Therefore, that usually opens up a possibility for a return to the mean within that initial balance range. And that's kind of what I'm doing here. Maybe I'm overshooting a little bit with the, let's tighten this up a bit, with the VWAP side of things. So I might actually just exit this. It just, you know, if they start to mess around 96, then it'll be time to get out. You know, 75 ticks per scalp, not too bad, right? But yeah, they have a pretty decent chance of reaching VWAP. Need to be careful about this market shift point break, because this is a bearish engulfing, obviously, and this area where the two candles were in equilibrium, but then one of them goes lower, that represents a new supply, technical supply, obviously. And I'm seeing some sweeps here. Don't like that. Okay, let's book 86 ticks, right? Just add a little bit onto it. Ooh, my copper trade is not doing so well. Alright, that's not super surprising. I'm gonna give it a little bit more time though, because it did tag me in annoyingly into two more contracts. I started with 4. And it's kind of failing the auction, but you know, gold is not exactly screaming to the downside, so I'm willing to give it the benefit of the doubt here. And look at this area as a range, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Whatever. So yeah, so that's the whole point with neutral days. So can you call this manipulation? Can you call this I don't personally like the word manipulation, because it implies that they're working against you and manipulating things. Like, nobody cares about us, right? Even me, like, I have bigger accounts on the other side. I'm still a small fish. You know, you can have 2 million in capital. You're still a small fish, because you're not trading 1,000 contracts. You're not trading 2,000 contracts. You're not even trading 100 contracts. You're a small fish, right? And we have to, you know, stay in our lane. But yeah, the neutral day fade, I wouldn't see that as manipulation. I would just see it as a test of this area that we created yesterday after the COMEX close. So COMEX close happened at... Oh no, actually it was into COMEX close. And same thing, we had the New York value high in and around this 95 area. Big move post FOMC release and into the press conference. Couldn't quite get to 100. That is my area where I'm actually starting to think maybe a short call could be a thing. If we get there, we can't break the 100 area, and the whole thing with the Middle East settles down a bit. They maybe go through some negotiations. I'm actually thinking a short call. Not now, and we also need to crawl back up there in order for me to execute an option, because it's way too out of the money at the moment. GK says, musician here too, love the rhythms of the tape. Yeah, same here. Yeah. He also says, or they also say, I find Jigsaw's reconstructed tape very useful when filtered using its sweep detections. Yeah, I agree. Jigsaw has some amazing tools. ATAS does as well. So there are order flow tools out there that are really quite good. Dance Futures, I became a millionaire trading props. Why wouldn't you? Well, not everybody can do that. Take Sniper, and not everybody wants to be a millionaire. You know, there are people who just want a comfortable life for their family. You know, some of us are more ambitious, but at this point, you know, I've been doing this for such a long time. I have all the houses that I need, and, you know, frankly, trading with size is stressful, very stressful for me. So, you know, even on my personal, what I call the YOLO account, even though it's not real YOLO, right? Let's face it, it's the D-YOLO version. I trade like 2 to 3 minis. That's plenty for me. But I mostly trade. I mostly trade end of day on my private account. Sometimes I will do early DAX trades. Don't really see anything on DAX. It kind of failed the auction, but no follow through. And no, we cannot trade DAX. I'm just mentioning that because that's one of the things that I like trading during this time of the day. Somebody loves my nose. Okay, that's random. GK says, you're 45! What the fuck? Benjamin Button. No, I did age. I used to look 12. So now I look like I'm in my early 30s. So yeah, when I was in my 20s, I literally looked like an underage child. There was a situation where one of the musicians, she was, because I'm originally from former Yugoslavia, from Serbia, even though I've lived in London since the early 2000s. I moved here when I was about 20 years old because I got sick and tired of the civil wars that we were having. That was annoying, politics running your everyday life and not knowing whether you will live or not the next day because somebody might bomb you. But then, I always had a connection to London because my sister was born there, my parents used to live there, and then my auntie stayed living in London for like 50 years, and then she moved to Italy with her husband at some point in the last sort of 10 years. But, I've always had connections to London, so it was like a natural thing for me to come and live here. But yeah, I remember the night where there was sort of a famous jazz singer there from Belgrade. And she didn't look that old either. She was like quite petite and, very skinny and, kind of cute and whatever. And I was one of the band members, so I was a singer and a saxophone player and a guitarist. But for this particular band, I did sax and singing. So we were basically just standing there after the sound rehearsal, sound check, and she didn't see that part. So I'm just, chilling, whatever, getting ready, having my espresso. And she says to me, she turns around and she goes, "Oh, honey, where are your parents?" And I was like 20, 21 at that time. I was like, "What? Sorry?" And she's like, "Yeah, where are your parents?" And I'm like, "I don't know, I don't even live with them. I don't know where my parents are." So then she goes, "Well, what do you mean? Like, how?" She was like really confused. So I said, I'm a musician, like I'm one of the people on stage, And she was like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." "Of course, you're the sax player, aren't you?" And somehow she recognized me because we've known each other. You bump into people at like different clubs and bars. She was like, "I'm so sorry. For some reason, I looked at you and I thought, oh, you must be like 10, 12 years old." It's like, well, this is a great start. And then for years after that, I couldn't get like alcohol without carrying an ID with me, especially in England. Like in Serbia, nobody cares, but in England, like the whole, IDing people if they look under 25 is a big thing. And and then over the years, I just tried to stay out of the sun. I use sunscreen every single day, and it's not that I stay away from the sun. It's not like sun. I'm not a vampire, right? But I do. I don't like sunbathing. I've never really found anything particularly interesting in that. I think it's overrated. I prefer colder climates. I like spring. Spring is kind of nice. But yeah, so I never baked my face to buggery trying to sunbathe and tan. I'm olive skinned anyway, so I literally get out for like half an hour and I'm already tan. And I also don't like my face too tan. I think my face changes a lot, and then I kind of don't look like myself. Yeah, my main axe was an alto, that's right. I'm too small for anything else, even alto looks big in my hands, but yeah, so I quite like the growliness and the range of the alto sax. I actually still have it. It used to live under RBOB, and I have the Cannonball Obsidian black one. It's quite it's so beautiful. It's like it's got these like precious stones for keys. It's a very, very unique instrument. It's quite lovely. Is MHGK the same in NASDAQ? No, it's copper, micro copper. MNQM is NASDAQ. I don't trade NASDAQ. You won't find me trading NASDAQ very often. It's not never. I still sometimes put in a trade. Oh, somebody's saying Tosix says kako si. Dobro sam, hvala. Dobrodošli. Not sure, but HG is copper. Yeah, it's copper. This is micro copper. So, yeah. Yeah, they're still in this range, annoyingly. So, yeah, we're just gonna talk and wait. And then if it knocks us out, it knocks us out. It is what it is. But yeah, at this point, I'm not really looking for more shorts. That's just outside of my comfort zone. To short it when we've already fallen like a million ticks to the downside. And then I'm like, oh, we're shorting the whole. So I would rather lose a mean reversion trade than actually try to run another continuation short. Because, you know, in my heart, deep down, I am a mean reversion trader. And I love it when I catch a good mean reversion. So I would rather lose the mean reversion trade than do a tiny little scalp as a continuation. Because to me, breakouts don't really work because I like to hold trades for longer. And even if I'm like in profit by about, 30 ticks and I'm using a 60 tick stop, I'll be like, nah, waste of time. So yeah. GK says, music industry chewed me up and spit me out. Happy to be here now. Happy about the past though. I feel the same way. When I got to, and this is so bizarre, when I got to 28, 29, it's weird because the music industry is very ageist, right? Very ageist. Like you go over 25 and immediately they're like, yeah, we've got these briefs. We only want people who are over like under 25. And I'm like, so what? You want kids playing for you, and yet you want really experienced session musicians. That doesn't go together, right? GK says, I'm a classical bassoonist turned EDM producer signed to Sony turned trader. Right, that's nice. I did some songwriting with Veda Nobles. He was, this was a long time ago, guys. It was 2008, okay? This was like my first year of trading. And then he was trading vanilla options and stuff. And then he found me on MySpace. It's such a random story. And then I went over to Orlando where he used to live. I don't know whether he still lives there. And if you don't know who he is, he was one of the producers on Rihanna's Ponder Replay. That was the first single. And there was a bunch of people involved in that song, but, he was one of them. And then him and his team were actually the producers and writers on Miseducation of Lauryn Hill. So obviously, and then there was like a big legal battle because I think she claimed that she wrote everything and that just wasn't true. And he's a very skilled guy. So I went over there, stayed not in his house, but he did have a massive mansion, but I stayed in Crown Plaza. And we were just coming to his house a lot because he had a little studio. But then once the demo was done, we actually went to a real studio. So that was a pretty cool experience. There were about 4 of us there. There was Veda, there was the sound engineer, who actually was a keyboard player for Kelly Clarkson at that point. So all these people. So it was a lovely experience. But as soon as I got to over 28, 30, 32, suddenly the ageist side of the music industry meant that, first of all, I didn't get all the gigs that I used to get, right? And, there were some gigs, like I did play for Rod Stewart for a couple of months, there were good gigs, right? But I just noticed that the frequency of them was not really as good. Like I used to be so busy, I used to be out of the country like 4 times a week. And there was not a week where I wasn't busy, right? But then that sort of went down to a couple of gigs, and it's not like my skills were less. Like if anything, they were more. The more experience you get, the better you get at your craft. It's kind of like trading. It's exactly the same as trading. But yeah, they just didn't want older people. So then for a long time, I was actually a live musician for Head Candy. So I was a sax player for Head Candy, and yeah, it was great. We traveled everywhere. We went to Vietnam. We went to Mexico. We went to Ibiza, obviously Ibiza, whatever you want to call it. We traveled all over Europe, and we had some residencies when Pasha was still a thing in London. Obviously, there was a Pasha in Ibiza as well. So, good times. But I don't know, somehow after the credit crunch, a few years after, the fees started dwindling as well. So, I went from charging one fee, and then suddenly they're like, hey, yeah, can you take it for like half the amount and then travel to Marrakesh or somewhere? And I was like, wow, okay. And then you would get there, and what used to be a really good hospitality, so you would get a hotel, you would get some time to chill before the gig, you would get, a whole bunch of stuff. And suddenly you get there and they're like, yeah, you need to do the gig and then we're going back to the airport. And I'm like, are you joking? Like, that's just crazy. So I don't know, I just got really I fell out of love with everything that goes with gigging. Like, I still love music, but I never, I don't know, it didn't feel like my career was progressive. It kind of felt like it was going backwards, right? And that's never a good thing. And then I started trading, and the fees that I was getting as a musician just became so pitiful for so much effort. And I'm like, I'll make that in not even a quarter of a trade. It's like, what is the point? But I kind of carried on parallel careers up until about 2014. And at that point I decided, right, enough is enough. I'm going to find a new dream, right? And here I am. So yeah. The Boring Trader says, signed to Atlantic in 23. We had no idea what we were doing. That tends to be the case. Yeah, it tends to be the case. Yeah, we're kind of talented when we're young, but we generally have no idea what to do with business. It's like, yeah, we're just artists. We're artists. And you need other people who know what they're doing with business to actually tell you, oi, you have a product, this is how you market it. And all musicians suck at that. Like, we're all so bad because we're like, oh, I suffer from my craft. I suffer from my... And to me, that's I don't know. I needed to learn a lot when I started running businesses, right? I wasn't comfortable firing people. I didn't know how to hire people either, so I went to do IT recruitment for a while. So, it was a journey. But yeah, luckily I fell in love with trading. So I don't care what I'm trading or how it looks or whether it's a demo or not, or whether it's live or whether it's a micro or whether it's like 100 lots. I love all of it. Like, I don't care about the money at this point. I'm just like, no, this is awesome. You get to play detective every day. And if you get it right, you get rewarded for it. But if you get it wrong, then you have to work on yourself, right? So it's like a challenge wherever you look. And if you're one of the people who loses a trade and then you get so upset about it, you're probably suffering from something that I mentioned here quite a few times now. It's called error-related negativity, ERN, where when you lose a trade, your brain sees that as a mistake and kicks off a whole bunch of protective processes that work everywhere else to modify your behavior for future. But in trading, that's like the worst thing you can have. And people with higher ERN tend to suffer more because your brain just goes into complete fight or flight mode. And there's no trading then. There's just like, you're just in a wave of emotionality and trying to run away from the lion that doesn't really exist because it's not a lion. It's just some numbers hitting you in the fields. And you get really upset, like a 3-year-old. It's like, what was that all about? After all it's said and done, you're like, who was that person? So at some point, obviously, as a trader who wants to do this seriously, you have to deal with that side of yourself, and you have to understand how ERN works. If you've already had some psychological traumas from like bad decisions that were a result of that process, you probably have to go through EMDR. That's like desensitization, using some neuroscience tricks where you're moving your eyes bilaterally, so you're following a ball on the screen while bringing up all the negativities about your own trading. And then in the next run through, you try to replace those with positive beliefs about yourself that are true, and thereby you deal with traumas. It's an excellent thing. You can do it online. There's like virtual EMDR. So yeah. Musicians need to set their ego aside like traders. I don't know whether that's true, man. I really don't, because I've met some musicians that have an ego the size of a house, much bigger than traders. Because, a lot of us are naturally talented, and then we worked on our craft even further. And what happens is that, a lot of us have this, like, illusions of grandeur, right? And we're like, oh yeah, I'm God's gift to God's gift to music. I'm amazing. But then life happens and you're like, yeah, okay, I'm a pretty good musician, but yeah, I'm not the best. And you don't need to be the best, but I really enjoy what I do. And let me tell you another story. So when I was a head candy musician, we went to play, where was it? I can't remember which club it was. It was somewhere up north, right? And there was this local guy there who was like a percussionist, but also tried playing trumpet. And I say tried playing because all he knew was one phrase on the trumpet, which was this, Calabria, like the solo from that. So he learned to play that, and he tried to play that same phrase in everything. And I mean everything. Doesn't matter whether it goes or not, you just learn how to play one phrase in like different keys. So anyways, before I started, I'm a female sax player, and he's kind of thinking, yeah, you're gonna suck, aren't you? Whatever. So I kind of let him do his thing, and didn't really think that we were gonna be sharing the stage because it was a head candy gig. But suddenly I get up on stage, he gets up with the percussion and starts hitting the percussion everywhere and anywhere, not really adding to the song, but just being very noisy, right? And then he grabs a trumpet as I was starting my solo, and he plays over me. He plays that same stupid phrase. So I turn around, and like there's spotlights on us. The whole club can see us. So I lean over out of the best intentions, right? We're here to serve the song. We're not here to serve our egos, generally. So I'm kind of lean over and I go, yeah, arrangement and stuff. So maybe wait until I'm not playing to do your bit. And, and also when you have, breaks in the singing, you can do question answer with the phrases of the song and the vocals, and, you can go crazy in the drops and, the bridges, but, try not to overdo it when the song is actually playing. It kind of sounds a bit crowded. Oh my God. He turns around and he goes, you do you, love, and I'll do me. And I'm like, Jesus. Okay. That was unexpected. So anyways, I decide to get off the stage while he's doing it. And yeah, absolutely. It's like the SNL skit. More cowbells. That's definitely it. And it's dance music, right? It's a house club. It's there's like thousands of people there. There's a massive venue. I don't know whether it was in Derby or somewhere. Like, I don't know. It was a long time ago. So anyways, I get off the stage and I go to our tour manager, John, and I said, yeah, we've got the creature from the Black Lagoon there. Jesus Christ, man. And he said, well, what happened? And so I tell him, I said, well, I tried to, he's playing too much and it just sounds like mess. So I tried to, get him to see what the arrangement is all about. He turned around and he was just like, really rude to me. So anyway, he said, yeah, I know, he's just this local guy, and we let him play with us. We let him play. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to be playing with him, though. So he gets off the stage, I get back on the stage, and then he gets up again. And I'm like, no, this is not going to work. So I'm like, if you're going to play, I'm going to wait until you're done, and then I'm going to go on. So I get off the stage again, he follows me. And I honestly thought he was going to hit me, because he, put me up against the wall. And mind you, I'm 5'1". I'm a very small woman. And he wasn't super tall. He was, 5'7", not the tallest man. Probably one part of the issue there. And, also not a very good musician. So he's like, yeah, who the hell do you think you are? And he just gives me an earful, face full of insults. So I was like, okay, right. I didn't react. I tried walking away. He kept following me. And then John, the tour manager, had to step in. And he was like, look, yeah, you can't do this, mate. Like, you go stand over there. She goes on stage. We're going to moderate you guys. And I'm like, okay, cool. So I get on stage finally, do my bit. And obviously I have big skills. You can find my there's a Creamfields video from 2012 where I was playing on just an ad-lib we were doing the VIP Head Candy Tent, and yeah, you can watch that. So, you know, I'm pretty good at what I do when I'm a musician, right? And no like falseness or anything. I'm a functional musician who can do solos, ad-libs, follow the track, be in the background, be a part of the horn section, like whatever you want me to do. I'm a session musician, right? That's what we do. So anyways, I do my bit, come off stage, because he hasn't really heard me play, because he kept playing over me all the time. So he gets up and he goes, hey, yeah, anyway, I just wanted to say that was really good. He was like smaller than a grain of sand, right? And he goes, yeah, just, you know, but you know how things are. And I'm like, yeah, I don't actually. You were very rude. And he goes, anyway, yeah, you're really good. Like, but you know, I just wanted to say I didn't know. I didn't know that, like, you were good. So you're being an a-hole before you know what people can do. Why? Because I'm a girl. Great. And honestly, I get that in trading as well. So to spin that to this industry is like what, 95% men, maybe even more, 97% men. And whenever they see a woman, they're like, you can't trade. You're just pretty face. Yeah, that's why I'm here, because I'm a pretty face. Like, look, I'm not an ug bug or anything, but if you're a bit of an airhead, you're not going to do well as a spokesperson for any company. You need to know what you're talking about. And what I look like is completely beside the point, right? I like to look presentable. You know, I could roll out of bed here looking like a nightmare. We could do that too. But I like to respect all of you who are watching these videos by, you know, putting a bit of makeup on and making sure that I wear something that isn't pajamas. and to also give you a little bit of, you know, levels that I might find useful, and tell you how I look in the markets with the auction process and all of that. So, do we lose trades? Yes, it's a part of the business. You will lose some, you will win some. So we won the crude oil trade. We're underwater on this one, but it's not the reason to freak out. Yeah? So you're just going, okay, it's a range. It is a range. They might swipe it below the low, in which case I'm out. Is it still valid? Not until it then crawls back over 545. So yeah. But I get it, you know, there's a lot of people who see a woman and they go, you suck, like immediately. Probably make us feel more at home in your PJs. You know, I've done my own streams. So I run my own streams on Thursdays at usually 1 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern. So basically half an hour into the COMEX close, and then I try to catch the NYMEX close. Don't know whether I'll be able to do that today because I have a meeting to get to, so I'm probably only going to do it for an hour. But yeah, that's on my Market Stalkers channel. I do it every Thursday. I am a lot more relaxed there. I do a couple of talks of my vape, you know, and I have done streams in a robe with shades on because I was suffering from a migraine. That was last week only. Was that only last week? That feels like it was a long time ago. But no, it was last week. And, you know, same thing, but maybe there's maybe my mouth is a bit more profane over there, and not like terribly, like every second word being the F-bomb, but, you know, a few of them sort of slide under the radar. Market Stalkers, that's me. So, you Google that, YouTube that, it's going to come up. Or you can just click on my profile and it'll take you to it. So, yeah. Now as it says it's true, I was offered auditions for LA studios not because I was that great, but because I was kind and simply willing to do things as requested. Yeah, that's right. GK says every winning trade of the stream, you have to rip Calabria on the sacks. In memory of Mr. Douche. Yeah, his name was Michael, actually. I remembered. Because he came up and like, you know, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And then in the end, he's like, by the way, I'm Michael. And I'm like, I don't care, dude. Like, seriously. Like, just get out of my face. But yeah, if you're looking for, you know, a bit more relaxed. And look, Topstep is family, definitely. You know, I've known everybody for over 10 years. Hogue and I are big friends. And strangely enough, we've never met in real life. It's always been like through calls and stuff, and videos. And but yeah, we confide in each other. You know, we talk a lot. You know, so whenever we sit down to talk, it's not often, but it's like one of those friends where every few weeks you sit down and you just yap for 2 hours. Of course, we have a bit of a drink and, you know, everything. Yeah, the Boring Trader says, yeah, 100%. Produced a lot of records for a long time. Hired a lot of session musicians. Best advice, be fun. Yeah, there's a guy who's a very good friend of mine in Belgrade. Probably one of the best musicians. I would say he's like right up there with like Matheny and like all of the guitar giants. Amazing musician. He's got perfect pitch. But oh my God, is he a pain to work with? He, and if he's watching this, Saleh, извини, ali znaš o čemu pričam. Because sometimes they do watch these things. And I've said this to him. Like, you hire him. You're like, hey, you want to come do a gig? And he's like, yeah, I'll be there. And then it just doesn't turn up. It's like, where the F are you? And he's like, oh, sorry, yeah, something came up. Well, what, you don't have a phone? And because of that, it doesn't matter how amazing he is, and he is genuinely amazing. Like, he's been my friend since he was like 14, I was 16. No, he was 12, I was 14. So it was one of the first bands that I was in. We were just kids, and we grew up together. He's like my brother. But he's just a pain. He's a pain. He's unreliable. You never know whether he's going to turn up or not. It's like, come on, dude. Oh, it's tanking. Yeah, we don't care. We've got stop losses. The risk is defined. It's only a chunk of what we made here. And if it shakes me out, so be it. But at this point, I don't have an option to do anything here. I could exit early, but did we invalidate the lows? No. Did we go underneath it? No. What are we doing? We're chopping in a range. Is it a big range that I wanted? Sure. But I don't have another idea for a trade here. I don't see anything else. Crude oil, middle of initial bounce. Gold still underneath that 4,700, but not high enough nor low enough to give me single prints that I can use to enter. Silver, same thing. Just middle of the range. You know. It's, there's nothing else to do. So I'm gonna stick with this because I'm a bit stubborn. And at this point I'm like, yeah. You versus me, baby. Yeah, I do get stubborn in some of my positions, especially in the mean reversions. Back in the day, I would be entering like one sort of on this move away, then another one as it kind of retests the breaking point to the upside, and then another one when it really starts moving. But I'm trying to just not do that on prop. I'm literally trying to only go into more. So I'm starting with multiple micros, 4 in the case of micro copper, and then just trying to add once it starts moving. And as you can see, it only added 2, it didn't add 3. So this would still be a, you know, within the expected value. Am I wearing a metallic blazer because I'm in the mood to trade copper? I actually have a copper blazer as well. I couldn't find the copper blazer, quite frankly. I don't know where I left it. This house is reasonably spacious and it's somewhere in the house, but this morning I woke up a little bit later because I traded the Asia session, so I didn't get my sleep to begin with, and then I thought I need a blazer because I don't want like naked shoulders just yet. It's not quite summer, it's spring, not summer. And then I looked at my silver blazer and said, nah, that'll do, it's fine. Will I trade silver? Probably not. I kind of want to keep the most of the P&L that I've had so far on the day. And if you go in trading silver, like this combine probably has about 5 grand in it or so. That's just not enough. If I'm like starting a combine, yeah, I will try a silver trade because, you know, you can always start again. But the deeper I get into profit with either XFAs or combines or whatever I'm doing, the more I'm leaning towards the The risk where I have to have more than 22K in my account in order to trade silver. And that's only like one trade attempt per day on silver. If that one doesn't work out, immediately I go somewhere else. I do not try again and again and again. It's the easiest way to dig a hole. And it's something that I would actually advise to everybody. If one trade doesn't work out somewhere, then you need to either have a different level rather than let me try again and let me try again and and it keeps smacking you in the face. So you keep getting bitch slapped by the market and you don't want to give up. This is just one trade, right? I didn't enter 3 and lost like 50% of the P&L, right? If I lose, it's going to be like, 30% maybe? And then I'll be like, okay, walking away for the day. I'm going to go do something else until my stream. And then maybe, I don't know, maybe I'll do my own account. Maybe I'll do, an XFA in the background. I don't know what I'm going to do. Maybe I'll be tired because I've been awake for most of the night and slept for like 4 hours. So therefore, by the time I get to my stream, am I even going to have mental capital? So I'm only going to stay for an hour on my own stream. Usually I stay for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, but I will not be able to do that. Somebody's belly is making noises. What's happening? I hope it's not my Cavalier. I thought that was a technical bear trap. With GC, I got in. I don't know, because we have 7 days to expiry of this contract on GC. When you get to that kind of situation, the gamma pinning becomes a lot more pronounced. And the fact that we have a pretty large put wall and a gamma flip area, I don't know how much more room they have to the downside. So yeah, gold is tricky, gold is fiddly, and gold is a commodity, and it whips around both ways. So, you have equities that are pretty directional, and then you have gold, crude oil. Crude oil is directional until it does this. So, I'm kind of watching all the equities traders now trying to trade crude oil, and they're like, hey, I know that, I've worked it out. It's like, yeah, sure, you worked out crude oil. Yeah. Let me know how that goes, because I've traded crude oil since 2013, and for a long time that was my breadwinner. And then it was very quiet for 2.5 years. It just died a death, man. Like we do ranges in like 1 30-minute bar for what we did for the entire session for 2.5 years. Like 115 ticks is what we used to do. So now that's better. So crude oil is back on my map. You see, I trade it every so often, we also have to be careful because it is a double-sided market. So it's a market where you think you've got it, you think you're long, and it's like, oh, it's amazing, look at the amount of ticks that I'm getting, and then it just rolls you with like a combine tractor, not a combine Topstep, but an actual combine like that farmers use, and it rips your face off, slips so much because it's a thin market. And then you're like, hey, maybe I don't have crude oil worked out. But I know crude oil. I know it so well. And I know how face rippy it can get. So be careful. Do I have equity in Topstep? As in like shares? No, I do not. I'm just an on-air talent. So, this is a contracting role for sure. But no, I don't have equity in Topstep. I'm not a founding member. Founding members are, I believe, obviously MP and Andre. And it's Hogue and I think Eddie. I'm not sure whether that's true. I know that Hogue definitely is. And Andre was the one who came up with all this. Like, he doesn't actually get enough credit. But it was Andre's idea to take the prop virtual online, and yet everybody's like really mean to him. It's like, dude, leave Andre alone. Leave my Dre alone, right? So just be aware that Dre, he's an easygoing guy. He's like, yeah, let's have some fun. Let's go. We're a lot of high energy. But he's been in the game for a long time. He was a Euro-dollar trader. And that's a very different market. Not Euro-dollar as in Euro-USD, but Euro-dollars. That's bonds. Gabe's Trading says banged on silver today, 3K. Awesome. I love Andre as well. He's very funny. He's quite knowledgeable, even though people are like, oh yeah, Dre, you don't know. Like, no, he knows so much. Like, you have no idea. I've spoken to him quite a few times away from the screen, and he has a very different personality. Obviously, we all have our own private lives and how we conduct business and stuff. I like to be a bit goofy on the streams as well. I wear silly hats, and yesterday for group coaching, I wore my cow hat because I held my silver trade until the cows came home. And now everybody's saying that I have to trade cattle, so I'm gonna liaise with Coach Hoop so he can teach me how to trade cattle, because I've traded cattle with him before, but it was like, one or two. Why is my stop set in one contract? It is not. It is not. It's just hiding. It's hiding. Because I'm scaling in, and then as I'm scaling in, that's generally a slightly different price, but it is 6. So it's not 1, it's 6. But it's playing hide and seek. Can I explain the gamma wall, put wall, etc. on my chart? Yeah, those are options levels where dealers, aka market makers, are expected to do their transacting or hedging. So therefore, they are the areas that frequently create areas of support and resistance, even if you're at all-time highs and there's only, thin air and opportunity up there. Those strikes with higher open interest, they are not on the chart yet, but they're in the options chain. They're also referred to as the dark pools, which sounds exceptionally tinfoil hatty, but it is a real thing. It is market makers use areas of high volume and open interest to do their business, to do all of the stuff that we need to have really tight spreads or no spreads. And if we didn't have market makers, we would have very different markets. Why? Because there would be nobody there. So, maybe you would have, 15 of us long, and then, maybe 10 of us short, but nobody in between. So what happens then? You get slippage. That's how slippage happens. How am I doing with this volatility and energy as a commodity trader? I'm doing options, and I'm doing okay. I trade end of day only because the volatility settles down, and that's kind of the thing that I do on my own account. In the morning, I may pop in a DAX trade every so often, but not every day. For energies, especially crude oil, I have been trading it via options for years now. But recently I started putting it back on the map for some intraday trades too, because the ranges are back. I feel it is worth our time now. And yeah. Alright, so be careful of 99 and 98 as well, because they have been traded through, but there are still areas that have a decent amount of interest. Obviously the big major anchor point is 100 in crude oil. And I would like to see what happens at 100. So yeah. If GC drops, can you pull copper with it? Sometimes. Stocks Fox says NQ is actually my obsession. Yep, NQ is definitely an addictive little beast. But I look at it as a psychotic younger sister that is always raving and partying. And like, come on. And you're like, it's 11 o'clock and you're in your PJs with a warm blanket and a cup of nighttime sleepy tea, and NQ is going, let's go out. It's only 11 o'clock, and you're going, no. But yeah, sometimes with the correlation between them is strong. So let's have a look. Let's have a look. I mean, it's kind of strongish, right? It's 0.9 today. It's not, now when I drop down to a low time frame, like a 5-minute chart, it's more like 0.48. If we have a massive move in gold, like let's say 4,700 definitely rejects and it starts to melt through, gain speed through 4650, which is the next area, which I don't have on this chart yet. So let's put it there for posterity. Then, massive move in gold, it will drag copper with it, but on most days, the correlation sort of stays about 0.5, so not totally good enough to go, yeah, I'm definitely using gold levels. Kind of like I use, because for crude oil and RBOB, which is gasoline futures, I use crude oil levels, but then I might express my trade in RBOB instead. And they are different, but because RBOB is a derivative of crude oil, they're super correlated. Like not like to a factor of 1, because they have their own seasonalities as well, but they're very similar products, very similar. But gold is its own commodity, copper is its own commodity. They both have their own supplies and demands and physical problems copper, for example, is used in a lot of stuff. It's used in chips. It's used in EVs, like electric vehicles. It's used in heating elements. So there's a lot of demand for it. And generally, seasonally, right now, it tends to be more long than short in the last decade. So this is also another reason why, any kind of pullback, sell-off, I'm looking at that as a potential opportunity to get into it. But I don't even know, can you buy copper bars? I would rather that silver drops a bit more and then I pick up more silver bars, because I have some from 45 and 71.50. I would like to buy another 5k if I can, if it drops more. So yeah. Trading energy at the close tells me you worked at a professional desk. You know it, yes. Yeah, we all used to do the fade, settlement fade, and I continue to do that. I didn't trade crude oil that much in the last 2.5 years because it was a snooze fest, man. At one point I had to see whether my internet was on. Yeah. 2 years, right? $100 ticks, $1 range. Sometimes it will move overnight, but most of the time you get to Colmex. It does something for the initial balance, maybe does like the $1 range, and then it just dies. And at one point, I'm sitting here trying to trade, and there's no ticks going through. It's just like frozen, right? And I went, is my internet on? And it's bad. Price action is bad. What's my favorite place to get physical silver from? I go to Bullion Vault. That's the one that I hold my stuff in. So it's a online vaulted thing, and they keep it for you. Very easy to sell it when you want it. But I'm planning to keep it for as long as possible. So that's quite possibly my retirement plan. Having my silver, that and Palantir. I'm never selling Palantir. I just have to pop over there and let my Cavalier out, because he's deaf and he is on diuretics, so he can't really hear me and he needs to go out. Back in like 10 seconds. Yeah, so vaulted bars. So none of this buy some silver and then keep it under your mattress. We're not doing that. So vaulted bars always, because if you need to sell the bars and they don't know where it came from, nobody's gonna really take it from you. So you really ideally need to be like vaults and stuff, and yeah. Spread your assets out over legal entities. I mean, I've got property as well, so it's not like, oh yeah, it's just pound silver. There are things that I can get rid of, so it's not. And I'm not planning to retire, guys. It's not like I'm turning 65 tomorrow. I still have another 20 years, and I'll still be like on YouTube and going, no, Granny D here. Let's trade some corn, because my brain is probably only going to be able to take very, very slow price action at that point. And corn is a great product if you know things about it. I don't yet, but I'm willing to learn. Yeah. Alright, we've got another sort of 14 minutes before we need to bounce and make way for the daytime show and our lovely colleagues with the opening call, right? So yeah, let's just sit it out until the end of the stream. I'm being super stubborn. Yeah, so see now gold is kind of going lower, but it's not like a shakeout. It's not like bleh, we're throwing up. It's just like we're moving towards the next options level. We are now underwater because we probably went short options here, talking dealers. And we need to sell more gold. Now this could go horribly volatile. Why? Because this was the gamma flip. They didn't go above it. So technically this is now a negative gamma environment. And that is always a recipe for slipping through levels and then reclaiming them by like a million ticks. So it slips like 500, like $50 below a level and then bounces right back. And it's like, well, did the level hold? Yes. Was it playable? Probably not. There's also that, right? So if you have a playbook and you can see it happening, but the stop and the risk required for you to actually express your position, there's just no sane way how you can like size down, especially on prop. We're talking very, very tight risk parameters. You're starting at best with $4,500 risk. That's it. It's basically a $4,500 account. If that was the only money you had in your personal, what sort of size would you be trading? Now, I'm not saying that you should be doing that in prop, because the whole point of prop is to be more aggressive. So this is why, even in this one, we're sitting at like $5-6 grand of profit in the overall combine, but it's like I want to trade 7 micros and I pop in a full RBOB trade. That's a lot of risk. That's aggressive, right? But, if I were to do the same in personal, and one of my accounts at the moment has about 170 grand in it, I trade like 2 or 3 minis at most. And if it's really volatile, I would drop down to micros in that as well. I would be like, let's trade like 7 micros. So I'm not opposed to scaling down, but also not opposed to being a little bit more aggressive in prop. When I say a little bit more, I don't mean going 15 NQ contracts and then just going, oh, I can't stand an XFA. Yeah, I wonder why. Even 3 NQs is like so high of a risk of ruin. You're always dancing on that one trade is going to take me out of everything. Don't do that, right? If you're having issues staying in your XFAs, just size down. Like, don't come with like dollars in your eyes. The old days of prop where you do a sim or you submit track record and then they go, okay, this is how much we're going to assign you, and do your own daily loss limit. We don't care. As long as you don't lose us more than 20 grand in one go. And then, those kind of prop firms, they are there, but it's very difficult to get into them, especially if you don't come from the financial background, right? Nowadays, we have online prop firms that don't have like 50-50, because also brick and mortar firms, the best profit split that I ever got was not even 50-50. It was like 40 to the trader and 60 to the company. And at worst, it was 20% to the trader, the rest of it to the company, or your risk capital as you're scaling up. However, the opposite side of things there was that they were scaling you up crazy amounts. Like if you had 1 month profitable, the next month they would use most of that to add to your available size. And then if the second month was profitable, all of that money they were pushed for doubling and doubling size. So you were scaled up crazy and very stressful, by the way. But at the same time, even though the 20% payout was in theory low, the amount of cash that we were making for the firm was like out of, don't even know the word for it, right? But you know, when I got to a point where they wanted me to trade 120 crude oil contracts, my life became all about executing the 120 lots in crude oil. Do you think you can scalp on that size in a thin market? No. So I used to look for the times of day when we have a decent amount of volume, but it's not super crazy. And typically that would be after 9 a.m. Central, which is 3 p.m. over here in England. That would be kind of the time to look at, you know, starting the trades. But there was no scalping. Like you had to almost have a bias and then just hope that crude oil would be directional. But every time I did the early trade from 9 a.m. Central or right after, I would then cut it an hour before NYMEX settlement. Why? Because then the enforced hedging of dealers would happen into settlement. So that would be my second trade on the day. But generally you could usually execute more around about that time because a lot of market making was happening, so there's more liquidity. And that's why I say time of day is a level. You know, somebody said, oh, you probably worked on a professional desk the way you're talking about the end of day trading. Yeah, that's why. Because, you know, if you have a lot of size, you need to go for the time of day when a lot of size is being done. So it's either the open or it's the settlement. There's really no in between. Lunchtime being the worst time of day for size and any sort of movement, really. But yeah, so I carried over those habits, and I like the fact that it's the highest probability of something happening. I don't like the open, personally. It's not like, oh yeah, Dee doesn't like the open, so I shouldn't either. I'm just saying that the open is very random to me, and unless it's like a very specific set of conditions, in my products, that first half an hour in particular tends to be the fake out. But even that is not like, oh yeah, it happens every day. It happens a lot, but sometimes it's the first 15 minutes, other times it's the first 30, then sometimes it's the whole initial balance is just one big fake out. And after that's done, we start to get more directional in crude. So this is why I like the failed auctions in crude, and that calls for the time of day to be after 9 a.m. Central. And then my favorite time would be in and around the Euro close. If I didn't find an earlier trade than that, that would be the first one. So yeah. How does the stop look like for that many contracts? Scary. It's the same, right? So you, I would keep the stop the same. So I would run a pretty reasonably wide stops. It wouldn't be like, oh yeah, I'm using a 15 tick stop, because you can't. So even back in the day, I was using, I think, about a 40 to 45 tick stop in crude, and we were moving 200 to 300 ticks a day, so $2 to $3 a day. So it was pretty manageable, and although it was whippy, it wasn't whippy by like 1,000, 2,000 ticks. It was, yeah. All right, let's answer a couple more questions, then I'm gonna finish it up. Silver at 60s range looks like a bargain for swings. Yep, I agree, especially with all the issues with still issues with supply, but I think the paper contracts mess things up. Beta, try again. Your jacket is fire. Thank you, appreciate that. Lewis says, I think when you're trying to pass evaluations, it is good to swing for the fences. The goal is to qualify quick. Once funded, then you switch to small size. Just my opinion. Lewis, I'm gonna guess you're a more advanced trader, right? For us who are like confident in what we're doing, and it's just a stepping stone for another funded account. Or maybe we messed it up in the XFA and we were just like, can't be bothered with combines, let's do it. For me, it's important to not do anything in March that's super risky, because March is an odd one. Until the 28th of March, I really hate it. So if you're an advanced trader who knows what they're doing, you have regular payouts under your belt, right? You've done the work, you know what you're doing. Absolutely. Try to pass in like 3-4 trades. Done. But if you're not consistent, and this is where most people are, unfortunately, right? And you get into an XFA, you swing for the fences, you get into an XFA, the first trade doesn't go well, ERN kicks in, and you start doing stupid things, and then before you know it, you're either like 50% down in the XFA, or you've lost it. If that's happening, you need to use the combines for what they're meant to be, a learning tool. If all you're doing is spinning your wheels, getting into combines, passing them quickly, getting to XFAs, losing them quickly, you need to change something. Change nothing and nothing changes. Okay? If that's the boat you're in, which I'm going to guess most people will be, your first order of business is to test your approach on small size, whether you can bank it all, and how much drawdown you suffer, how many days of a green streak, how many days of a red streak, how bad can it get during a drawdown streak, and then to see how long you can survive in an evaluation. Once you've done that, then your funded account is where you hone your emotional regulation. So, there are traders that are kind of halfway there. They can pass combines, but they can't hold on to XFAs. That's a different problem. That's a problem with the error-related negativity. They lose a trade, they think they're wrong, and they're like, their mind just flips into fight or flight, and then the monkey brain takes over, and it's not you trading anymore. There's no more levels, there's no setups. It's just survival mode, which always ends one way: the lion eating you. Okay, you can't outrun a lion. It's never going to happen. But there is no lion. That's the moral of the story here. So yeah, it depends where you are in the journey. If I'm talking to, someone like Rips or Nick Furtick or somebody, I'm not going to tell them, yeah, spend time in a combine, mate. They don't need to. They know what they're doing. And it's just like if they want to trade, evaluations, they do it for trade entertainment, or they do it because, hey, let's get another funded account or get some content going, right? Now for me, I am doing some changes with my executions, which I'm very uncomfortable with. I'm getting more comfortable, but yeah, it's also March, it's also weirdness of daylight savings, and I hate, absolutely hate March. So yeah. Keith says, can't fumble trade, says the lion still eats me. Yeah, take a look at error-related negativity. It's something that happens to us 50 to 100 milliseconds after your brain perceives a mistake, and then it goes into complete panic to adjust your behavior. The worst thing ever for trading. Keith says, what would you recommend? I have 250k accounts that are within 2,000 of their loss limit. I have 7 resets. My third account is plus 6,500. The ones that have 2,000 in it, is that per account, or is it just like 2,000 all in? So 1,000 in one and one in the other. But whatever the case is, go down to micros. 1 micro only. Try to dig yourself out. Try. I know it's a grind, I know it's boring, but it will serve you well to learn more about yourself in a drawdown. Because imagine, add another couple zeros, or just 1 0. And imagine there was a much bigger loss. So now you only have 20 grand after having, let's say, 100 grand of profit. How would you manage that? Okay, so you say per account. Great. So that's like having a $2,000 combine, like you're starting again, right? So size down, 1 to 2 maximum micros. Don't trade silver. Don't trade anything that's not a true micro. And just try to bail yourself out of a drawdown. journal the process. Journal your mental triggers. Journal your mental triggers. Go, okay, so today the first trade didn't work out. My brain flipped out, but I know that my brain is flipping out, so I'm going to try and not go crazy here. Write it out with your hand on a piece of paper, because that's a different activation of a different part of your brain than typing on the screen, okay? And you will get to the desirable awareness and results much quicker. You trade MES, excellent. So just 2 MESs, awesome. Yeah, try to bail yourself out. But yeah, even if it's not successful, even if you blow up eventually, just try to blow up slowly, not like in one day. The process of trying to get yourself out of a drawdown whilst writing things through it and pouring your soul out of how you feel as things are happening, that will be a lot more beneficial than you just blowing it, buying more, doing the back to funded and spending an arm and a leg to get back to funded, okay? All right. Stocks Fox also has a good point. I recommend OBS Studio to record your own sessions. Record it with your face as well, because it says a lot, right? Because when you go into a fight or flight, it's never like a relaxed, it's always like you look like a lunatic. And I've done that for me, so it's like, you make faces. That's not good. So you need to try and be relaxed, try to not be emotional. If you are emotional, write it down. All right, that's all I have for you. Let's make way for the daytime show and the opening call. I will see you again tomorrow for group coaching, because I'm not on today. However, if you want to pop over to my channel at 1 p.m. Eastern, feel very free to do so. I welcome you. Would love to see you. In the meantime, enjoy the daytime show. And that was it. I'm Mark Stoker D. This is the Metal Markets. I keep forgetting the name of my show because we've changed it. This is the Metal Markets. I'm Marcus Stoker D. Let's see what the day brings. Take care.